Today we'll be investigating a bizarre corner of the internet, a strange little nook consisting of videos and social media accounts created and operated by individuals actively serving time behind bars. Incarcerated influencers, as I like to call them, exist thanks to the prevalence of smuggled contraband cell phones. And the stuff that they're uploading to the internet ranges from brazenly stupid to genuinely intriguing. You know, considering the confined nature of the uploaders and the covert methods that they have to use to get this stuff online. It's fascinating. From convicted killers taking to Facebook Live and issuing threats to folks on the outside, to bizarre convict blogs showcasing smuggled-in Zaxby's fried chicken, all the way to masked anonymous figures showcasing prison food right here on YouTube. Some crazy stuff. Today I'd like to introduce you all to the influencers behind bars. Today's video is sponsored by Keeps, and to begin the ad, let's look at my hair from some old videos back in 2020. Yeah, as you can see, your boy was thinning up there and losing hair fast. Now, I didn't want to go bald, so I decided to do something about my hair loss and got started with Keeps, and the results, I must say, have been pretty good. Here's me at 6 months after starting Keeps, a year after starting, 2 years after starting, 3 years after starting, and then there's me right now, 4 years after starting Keeps. And if I'm being honest with you guys, I think I'm looking pretty good. Keeps offers generic versions of the 2 FDA-approved hair loss products at a can't-beat price, and best of all, you skip the trip to the doctor's office and pharmacy. Keeps will set you up with a prescriber online and ship your prescription right to your front door. You can start taking it, and in 4 to 6 months, you should begin seeing results. So take it from me, someone who has been actively taking Keeps for 4 years now, this stuff does help with hair loss. And if you're a guy out there that's having some anxiety about hair loss, there's no better time than now to start Keeps. Hair loss stops with Keeps. You guys can go to keeps.com/wavy to take advantage of their special offer. Big thanks for the sponsor.
Good in the hood today, boy. Fuck this shit up. No, for real.
While most would-be influencers from behind bars tend to use Facebook Live to make their presence known online, our next subject took a more traditional approach, operating a bona fide Facebook blog of sorts and making candid statuses and videos about smuggled-in fried chicken and, him sharing his thoughts about fellow inmates. This is the darkly hilarious story of convicted killer Maze Mob. Maze Mob, aka Andre Bonner, was arrested in 2013 for murdering 17-year-old Jamoni Bland outside of the Zodiac Lounge in Macon, Georgia. In 2015, the man would be found guilty of felony murder, malice murder, as well as gang charges, and he was sentenced to life in prison without parole plus 20 years. Sometime in September of 2018, it's reported that Andre Bonner received a smuggled cell phone and began posting videos to Facebook under the name Maze Mob. Throughout the year, Andre would treat Facebook like any other ordinary citizen would, randomly posting onto the social media website, just talking about whatever. His frustrations with being a bachelor in prison being one common topic. He says, "I'm sick of this single shit. I'm looking for me a hashtag mob wife." He often shared boomer memes. "Good morning," he says. "Sometimes those who are heartless once cared too much," with the fucking Joker imagery. And also something interesting that I just want to bring up here, I'm pretty sure that Andre Bonner was in the same prison as infamous murderer, popular with true crime channels here on YouTube, Stephen McDaniel. The killer who was informed that the body of his victim was found while he was being interviewed by the local press shortly after he killed them.
We just don't know where she is.
What about in the parking lot area? I know they've been doing a lot of, I think that's where they had recovered the body or whatever they recovered from there.
Body?
Had you seen anything there? Had you seen anything there? We don't know if this is the same person. You know what I mean? They took out a body there earlier. We don't know if it's the same person or not. So that's how we're trying to ask people if they know who lived there. Are you okay, sir?
I think I need to sit down.
Okay.
And I also think he's in a really popular Jim Can't Swim video as well. In a Facebook status, Bonner asked his fans to confirm the identity of an individual at his prison, and his commenters promptly confirmed that it was in fact McDaniels. "If y'all can tell me who this is, I got you a prize. My girl kept telling me this was him. I was like, fuck no. Dog small as fuck. I G him every day and didn't know it was people. Hashtag free to goat," Bonner said, seemingly in support of the murderer. Most of the videos that Bonner would post consisted of the man sharing vignettes from life within a cell. These pieces often showing unexpected luxuries in the context of being locked up, such as the man chowing down on some Zaxby's and him smoking.
Good in the hood today, but that's me. Fuck this shit up. No, for real.
Now, one might think that publishing these videos is a bit of a self-snitch. I mean, after all, he's posting videos that he recorded off contraband that he's not supposed to have, showing him engaging in behavior that he's not supposed to engage in. But then again, does this guy even care? I mean, Mr. Bonner is in prison for life, so what does he really even have to lose other than perhaps being thrown into the hole or something like that? As he continued to upload to Facebook, Bonner's ridiculous page would catch the media's attention, who would go on to do a full report, reaching out to the Department of Corrections Public Affairs Office, and the department would be made aware of Bonner's antics. In response, they launched their own investigation into the page and Bonner's activities. I mean, after all, there was a lot to look into. This guy got pretty busy with his video content on there. Bonner's last Facebook status was posted on March 26th of 2019, the same day that the media coverage about his exploits on Facebook began. It's unknown what Andre Bonner, aka Maze Mob, is up to these days. Well, outside of serving time, but there hasn't been any new Facebook accounts claiming to be him. Whatever the case, when a prisoner operates a boomer tier Facebook account, that was the Andre story.
I came up in the struggle, hoping that my day be stressed. I got a lot to say, I got to get this off my chest.
Typically speaking, when guys get cell phones in jail or prison, they're using it to go onto Facebook, post statuses, or maybe even contact people from the outside. Well, our next group of individuals that got a smuggled cell phone, or cell phones I should say, they took things to the next level, going out of their way to record an entirely produced music video and somehow getting it onto YouTube. On the Wave House YouTube channel, there's a music video that was uploaded on November 3rd of 2022 called In This Cell. The lead artist on the song is credited as 24 Super Bad 37, and it features an artist known as 82 Treasy Banger. The video consists of grainy cell phone footage, showcasing multiple rappers that appear to be behind bars. In the music video, you can even see footage of correctional officers restraining someone. There's also points in the video where it appears that their prison cell is being flooded with water, and footage of prisoners arguing with each other is spliced in throughout. During the video, the rappers appear to be somewhat uncomfortable and on the lookout while performing on camera.
Your Uncle Jamie prayed that I get my soul right. They working on my appeal, I hope he go right. But if it ain't got plans, it's gonna be your right. Cause know your daddy is dog and this is dog. It ain't the size of the dog, gotta be fighting me. And I've been through what you've been through, come can't find me. When they lock me in the can, all that time has me suffering. But I can picture,
The whole thing feels a bit awkward while they mouth the lyrics to the song. You definitely get the feeling that they're doing this without permission and there's some sort of, looming presence outside of their cell that they're trying to avoid being noticed by. Basically, they're secretly recording this video and don't want to get caught. One good thing that you can say about this video is that it is incredibly authentic. This is about as real as it gets, and many people who saw this were surprised it was made while the rappers were locked up. In This Cell was recorded in September of 2022 and was published to the internet in November. At the time of me making this video, it has about 120,000 views. When the video first started making waves online, it grabbed the media's attention. An investigation on their part would confirm that it was in fact filmed in prison, more specifically the Macomb Correctional Facility in Macomb County, Michigan. It was filmed by two prisoners who had smuggled in cell phones. Later it would be revealed that the two men who recorded the footage and rapped the lyrics were in prison for some pretty serious crimes. One was in for second-degree murder, and the other was charged with armed robbery. The one charged with armed robbery had also gotten 2 additional charges while in prison, both due to possessing contraband, unsurprisingly. Although media attention gave the music video a bigger spotlight, the way the correctional facility guards actually found out about it is interesting in and of itself. Now here's how this video was linked back to these guys. Apparently while searching one of the prison cells, the guards found a piece of paper that had the URL to the YouTube music video written on it. A quote from authorities says, "They looked at it, pulled it up online, and then found it was a video that had clearly been shot inside that prison." Now, as the music video was going viral, there were employees at the correctional facilities that spotted 2 separate cell phones in the video, and they deduced that one of them was filming the video and the other was just used as a prop. When the prisoners responsible for the video were discovered, they were separated and put in segregation while they awaited additional charges, which would lead to more time for both of these guys. Unfortunately, for the sake of this story, both prisoners have gone unnamed by the press, so I don't know who these individuals are and what the details of the particular charges were. The YouTube video still continues to be successful and has accumulated almost 1,000 comments, most of which seem to be supportive. This song is so dope. Keep your head up, homie. There's always better days ahead. I did 7 years, been home since 2014, and I could have never imagined life being so beautiful. Stay strong, King. One cheeky commenter says, "How does video get out before y'all, SMH?"
Baby mama's tripping, but she watching though. And she loving me though. She can talk all that she want.
State leaders who saw the clip say it's dangerous and threatens security.
In what has become a classic case of a prisoner breaching cyberspace from behind bars, we have the story of Hossein Rivera, a violent offender who used a cell phone from within prison not only to operate a Facebook page, but to issue violent threats to folks on the outside while brandishing contraband weapons in this content. Let's begin. 31-year-old Hossein Ariel Rivera was a career criminal serving a 10-year sentence in the Evans Correctional Facility in Bennettsville, South Carolina. Hossein had been arrested and convicted of a burglary charge in 2014 in Newberry County. And while in prison, he was charged with 2 counts of destroying jail property in Lawrence County. Hossein had a reputation of being quite difficult. While in prison, the convict would have many run-ins with correctional officers, and a lot of it had to do with him somehow being able to access social media. In March of 2017, Hossein would be reprimanded for a social network violation, where he ended up losing access to quite a few privileges, those including telephone, visitation, and canteen privileges for 6 months. Meaning that he can't go to the shop and get little snacks and shit like that. 1 month later, in April of 2017, Hossein was reprimanded again due to being in possession of a cell phone. As a result of this, he lost his television privileges for a year, and his canteen, telephone, and visitation privileges were taken away altogether for another 6 months, stacked on top of the earlier punishment he was given. Now, you'd think that these actions would possibly prompt this guy to pump the brakes a little bit, hang back, and keep a low profile, but no. It seemed Hossein Rivera wanted to completely top his previous antics, and the correctional officers at this place didn't seem to have any motivation to stop him. These guys were just really, clocking in and chilling. On August 4th, 2017, Hossein would appear on Facebook Live with a fellow inmate. It seemed the previous restrictions against him were not being dutifully observed, as somehow Hossein had gotten access to another phone, and he was literally using it to go live while interacting with his friends that were in the chat. But as he cheeses for the camera with his confidant, something oddly alerting can be seen in this video content.
and inmates living it up on social media.
As you can see, both convicts are in possession of what looks to be actual knives.
Big knives and all.
Now, naturally, this makes for a concerning visual given the fact that these two are in prison, not supposed to have access to these weapons, and they do have violent pasts. In the video, Jose gives his Facebook friends a tour of the facility, walking them through what appears to be the commons area outside of his cell.
You see this? Big boss. Yeah. You see this? That's my main man's right there.
Later in the live, Jose addresses his baby mama.
Baby mama's tripping, but she watching though. And she loving me though. She can talk all that she want, but this real in here, you hear me? They love me. Big knives and all. I don't give a baby mama, you know you love me. You talking that crazy talk. You hear me? I'm coming home soon, girl.
And at another point, he seems to hold something up to the camera, but it is censored. It's hard to see, but I believe it's some sort of gang sign. This wouldn't be a one-time deal, however, as in another video, Jose can be seen sitting at his bed while berating someone who had apparently been a part of some sort of drama with him and his baby mama.
Brother, you know who you playing with? Bro, if you ever disrespect my baby mama, bro, I was sick. I'm not talking. I don't do no talking. This is your only warning.
Near the end of the stream, he pulls out his knife and says that he will stab his ass any day of the week, referring to whoever was causing him drama that was in the free world.
I see any day of the week.
This incident and live stream would cause concern for folks on the outside that stumbled across it. They thought, how is this convict able to stream with a knife in his hand in the middle of prison? Where are the guards at? There seemed to be not one correctional officer anywhere near the vicinity in these videos, nor did the prisoners seem all too concerned about concealing their contraband in the first place. It looked like anything goes at this place. After the streams were discovered by the press, the media would put the correctional facility on the hot seat. In response, a prison spokesperson released a statement regarding the incident. We've been very vocal about cell phone contraband, not only in our prisons, but in corrections departments across the country. This video is another example of the unfettered access to the outside world that cell phones give inmates, which is why the FCC should allow prisons to block cell phones. Now, at the time, South Carolina State Senator Brad Hutto did some posturing, making statements saying that this whole situation was extremely concerning and that officials in the government need to have more control over what's being done in the correctional facilities.
Most of these folks have victims that are associated with their crimes, and the victims should not be subjected to seeing any more of the shenanigans that's going on with these Facebook posts.
Now, I'm not really all too sure if anything came out of this situation other than a bit of public scrutiny, but regardless, Jose would continue on with his antics. On July 9th of 2018, he was reprimanded again for operating a social network, and he lost multiple privileges because of this. You can see that he was hit with disciplinary action for operating a social network account in July of 2018. It says he was hit with loss of canteen privileges for 210 days. Detention for 60 days, loss of telephone privileges for 210 days, loss of television privileges for 360 days, and loss of visitation privileges for 210 days. The man was hit with disciplinary action again for social networking antics in May of 2021. You can see that he lost canteen, television privileges, visitation, etc. And in March of 2019, Ariel would receive another 10 years stacked on top of the sentence he was already serving due to pleading guilty to a burglary in the second-degree charge. Needless to say, this man is still behind bars. He hasn't gone live in a while, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see this dude gallivanting around prison on Facebook Live in the future.
I shot and killed a man. Yeah. I'm ashamed to say, I killed a man.
YouTube has quite a few channels that consist of former prisoners talking about their lives when they were locked up, their experience, prison stories, and other kinds of things. But what about a YouTube prison channel run by someone who is still actually in prison? Well, that brings us to Bad Bob, a self-described incarcerated content creator who in many ways has become an enigma. This story begins all the way back on August 17th of 2020 on the After Prison Show YouTube channel. For those unfamiliar, After Prison Show is hosted by a man named Joe Guerrero, who had spent 7 years in prison, and he vlogs about his experiences while locked up. After Prison Show Joe would be the first to bring up an individual known as Bad Bob. It all starts in a video where Joe claims that an individual from inside prison known as Bob had reached out to him. This individual was completely anonymous and wanted to share how horrible the food was while being locked up. This Bob individual would become known as Bad Bob.
This guy is legitimately like undercover in prison, and that sounds horrible. So possibly a better way to word it would be like an inside source in prison, who is going to be sharing with us what exactly prisoners are really eating.
In this video, Joe states that he was not able to 100% confirm that this guy actually was in prison, but Joe was told one of the guy's aliases that apparently another person that had appeared on his channel prior was familiar with. So he was somewhat able to confirm that this guy was actually behind bars. It wasn't concrete, just enough confirmation for him to go through with making a video, I guess.
8-ounce cup filled almost to the rim. So there you have it. Once again, 2/3 this time of what they are supposed to feed us. 8 ounces instead of 12. And let's not forget the heel of the bread. Yum yum.
This would be the first time Bob would appear on a public channel, where he would showcase the horrible meals that prisoners were given while behind bars. He would continue to supply update videos for Joe's After Prison Show, showcasing his Thanksgiving dinner in one of them. His last video on After Prison Show would be published January 10th of 2021, in which Joe would advertise Bob's own channel that was recently created. It seemed like after this, Bob decided to make a channel of his own, as the channel Bad Bob's Prison Life was created on September 2nd of 2020. In the channel description, Bob would write, "I am Bob. I was tried as an adult at the age of 14 for possessing a gun and committing a robbery. Being in an adult penitentiary at such a young age, I was forced to fight for my life and adapt to the prison lifestyle. As such, I ran the time up repeatedly, escaped 7 times, and have now been in prison for 46 years and live to tell about it. This channel is dedicated to showing young people who are headed down the wrong path the type of things they will be faced with if they come to prison. And you will come to prison if you continue on a life of crime and drugs. I would encourage everyone to obey the law and do the right thing and stay away from drugs and crime." Bob's story that he would later tell in a video is that he was adopted as a baby and stayed with a woman who was physically and mentally abusive, and this would lead to him running away at 12 years old, where he would spend 2 years living on the streets of a major city.
I was adopted at birth, so I never knew my birth parents. I went to an adopted family who divorced when I was 4 or 5, and I went with the mother during the divorce. Well, she was very abusive, emotionally, mentally, verbally, physically, I mean the whole 9.
When he was 14 years old, Bob claims he ended up robbing a convenience store and getting snitched out by one of his friends and was arrested. The masked man says that when he was arrested, the authorities and prosecution made the decision to make an example out of him and tried him as an adult. According to Bob, he was facing life in prison and took a plea bargain for a lesser sentence. They then shipped him off to the state penitentiary at the age of 14, where he was surrounded by rapists and murderers. During his early life in prison, Bob claims that he actually escaped 7 times, and during one of the times that he had apparently escaped, he had shot and killed a man while on the outside, and this would lead to him spending the rest of his life in prison. Anyways, while his story is interesting, the man is most known for his prison food videos. On December 26, 2020, Bob uploaded his first video titled My 46th Christmas Dinner in Prison. In this video, the apparently imprisoned man calls himself Bob and claims to be residing in a maximum security penitentiary somewhere in the United States, being unspecific to preserve his anonymity. He states that this is his 46th year in prison. He then shows off the Christmas dinner provided by the correctional facility, and it looks grotesque. The turkey looks like boiled spam or some shit, the sweet potatoes look cold, and he's really only given a small smidge of cranberry sauce. Not much of a meal for Christmas, if you ask me, even for a prisoner.
Oh, yum, yum. A lot of food on this plate. Definitely more than usual. They said we were having turkey, and it looks like they didn't lie. Oh my goodness.
While showcasing the dinner, Bob states that back in the day, during the 70s, 80s, and early 90s, they were given a more high-quality holiday meal. But over the last few decades, apparently the standards had dropped significantly. The video ends with a warning for viewers that if they found themselves in prison, that this could be the best meal that they get. And that's not much.
So, everybody, enjoy your holidays and stay out of trouble. And remember, if you're going to commit a crime, this is what you're going to be faced with. This will be the best meal you'll see all year long.
The majority of Bob's channel was centered around warning viewers what it could be like if they were sent to prison. It's also to note that a lot of his videos were published during the COVID-19 pandemic, so viewers got to see a first-hand, account of what the guys behind bars were eating during these tough times. He certainly made prison seem like a place you never wanted to go to. In regard to COVID, Bob even says at one point that the prisoners around him were dropping like flies due to the sickness that was spreading, painting quite the dire picture. Surprisingly, Bob would upload quite frequently to this channel with prison food reviews and Q&A videos, as well as captivating prison stories like how Bob claims that he witnessed a rapist get maimed and how Bob was beaten up by a prison gang. Now, this whole time, Bob remained completely anonymous. He didn't say what prison he was in, what city he was in, what state he was in, nor did he mention a name or anything else that could narrow down who he actually was. So for the most part, he was able to get away with uploading to his own YouTube channel without anyone finding out who he was to cross-reference him or to get him in trouble if he really was in prison. Now, what was curious about Bob's channel, given the fact that he was locked up, or apparently was locked up, is that it had its own graphics. You might be thinking, how could somebody do this from behind bars? But it's just equally as likely that Bob had someone helping him with the channel on the back end. Like somebody on the outside that is uploading these videos for him. You've had prisoners with cell phones before uploading to the web, but normally these guys are just showing themselves in front of the camera and nothing else. Bob had actual production. He was literally running a prison vlog YouTube channel while in prison, with a voice changer and, other visual stuff. Pretty impressive to do from behind bars, if real. Bob also had a PayPal donation link set up on his channel and multiple email addresses for fans to get in contact with him. Which the PayPal part of that, I'm almost certain you would have to have somebody else to do because they have to be able to open a bank account, I'm pretty sure. On April 18th of 2021, it's reported that Bob hit a snag with his production due to one of his cell phones completely dying out on him. According to updates, he was forced to use a backup phone that wasn't as advanced as his previous tool. However, this didn't stop him from publishing. The last upload on the Bad Bob's Prison Life channel would be on April 17th of 2022, and then the channel would go completely dark. However, there would be a replacement second channel created that featured brand new Bad Bob uploads, that channel being called Life in Prison with Bad Bob. The last video uploaded on that channel featuring Bob was on April 13th of 2022, and then there's seemingly no update from the guy. But on April 18th of 2023, an individual would upload an update about Bob to this page. This person was masked and anonymous, and claimed that Bob just didn't have access to a phone and that they were trying to sort it out so he could record new videos.
Hey guys, so I'm a friend of Bad Bob's here, and I'm here to give you an update on what's going on. He doesn't have access to a phone, but we're getting that sorted out as soon as possible. We appreciate the good comments and all the support, Bob especially does.
After that, it seems everything has gone dark. There were many in the comment section of his videos around this time that wanted to hear updates and wondered how Bob was doing. However, there were also quite a few people that believed these channels were total bullshit and were faked for attention. There's much debate about this in the comment section of Bob's content. While we're on this topic, if you go to the After Prison Show subreddit, there is quite a bit of debate about Bad Bob on this page, with some claiming that the entire Bad Bob persona is a scam and that it would be impossible to pull something like this off, while others, giving justifiable explanations for how Bad Bob could be real. One commenter says this: "Look, I love calling out Joe and his low-level minion frauds for the BS they like to pull on the audience, especially that murdering scum Banky, but when it comes to Bob, I see a lot of people saying he's not an inmate, etc. I know one thing for sure, and that is prison food he is showing us. That cabbage is pretty region-specific as well when it comes to prison food. It would take a bunch of time and trouble to go through all of that to fake prison food. Now, the thing maybe is that he's not an inmate but a guard who has some compassion, because that is why he is speaking out on the horrible diet prisoners receive. I also think he speaks very well for someone who has been incarcerated for 40 years. He does not sound like a junior high dropout like most prisoners, but that doesn't really prove anything. My 2 cents. TLDR, I don't think he's a complete fraud, at worst a guard who is pretending to be an inmate." There were also YouTube channels speculating that this whole Bad Bob ordeal was a complete scam. For the most part, Bob's channels have gone dark, though there have been small updates in the last year, but not in the form of a video. It's community posts published to the Life in Prison with Bad Bob channel. From 8 months ago, a poster says, "Just wanted to let everyone know that Bob is doing okay, and I apologize for the silence. Thank you for all the positive comments. I'm going to try to respond to your questions on behalf of Bad Bob. We appreciate everyone for sticking with us." From 3 months ago, "Hey everyone, I just wanted to reach out and talk to you guys. I apologize for the lack of videos and update videos. Bob had to move prisons, and due to that, it had made communication extremely difficult. Our talk time is limited to just a few minutes every couple of months or so. Obviously, Bob isn't made up or this channel is fake, because if it was me, I would be pumping out videos and making profit, but I'm not. I'm just a middleman for Bob. As always, enjoy the free world living in paradise." And the most recent being from 3 weeks ago at the time of me recording this video on, July the 17th. "Hello everyone, I have great news regarding Bob and the channel. Our communication has picked back up and more videos will be uploaded. We appreciate everyone who stuck around and supported the channel. Bob can all see your comments, so keep it up. As Bob would say, enjoy life out there in paradise, stay safe."
I'm shooting at them at the end of the woods. I'm shooting at these.
Going live while in prison is stupid, but people do it nonetheless. Well, what about when a prisoner goes live and admits to a crime that they had never been formally charged with, getting themselves in trouble in a way you might not even expect? This is the story of Joe Fletcher. Joe Fletcher is from Akron, Ohio, but was serving time in the Atlanta federal prison for a probation violation. The 30-year-old was a career criminal that had been convicted of drug trafficking, as well as illegally possessing a firearm. In Ohio, Joe had been described as one of Akron's most dangerous individuals. He arrived at Atlanta's federal prison due to a probation violation on January 5th of 2018. And on January 27th of 2018, he would use a contraband cell phone to go live and speak to his friends and family while using Facebook Live. This video stream was publicly broadcasted onto his Facebook and was approximately 49 minutes long. While on Facebook Live with his friends, Fletcher begins to talk about a 19-year-old murder victim named LaDonte Smith, who was shot in the head in North Akron back in 2010. It turned out someone else pleaded guilty to the murder in 2011, but on Facebook Live, Joe Fletcher literally just admits to the slaying, saying that he was the one responsible.
Everybody know I did it. Did it, yeah. Free my champ.
The media would get a hold of this footage and actually interviewed the victim's mother, who claimed that she was emailed the clip after it had gone viral.
I wanted to know where the hell was the guards the whole 49 minutes that he was doing all of this? Crying, rewinding, thinking of things that I could do to him.
The mother would reveal to the press that her son and Fletcher were pretty good friends, but always believed there was something more to the case. The day after posting this Facebook video, his cell phones were found in his cell, and he was charged with illegally possessing a communication device inside a federal prison. And the matter of him admitting to this, alleged murder was being investigated by the FBI. Interestingly enough, however, nothing about the murder of LaDonte Smith ever came to fruition, and Fletcher was given parole in 2019 and made his way back to Akron, Ohio. The same year of his release, the man would be rearrested for beating his girlfriend, and a judge even ordered him to leave Ohio. However, Fletcher never truly stayed gone. In January of 2020, he released a music video apparently mocking the story of him admitting to LaDonte's murder, showcasing news footage within his music video regarding it.
And Smith's mom tells me she knew Fletcher long before he was behind bars here in Atlanta and long before there was ever a Facebook Live. In fact, Fletcher and her son were pretty good friends, but she always believed there was more to the case.
Damn. It's always the ones closest to you.
Or had you found peace in Anthony Smart's plea?
No, because I still was hearing that he was not the one that actually pulled the trigger.
In June of 2020, Joe ended up leading Ohio State police troopers on a high-speed chase, where he documented everything using Facebook Live.
Hey, police, I'm shooting at them. At the end of the woods, I'm shooting at these.
Fletcher would be arrested and jailed without bond, but in August of 2021, Joe's daughter passed away, and the convict was allowed to leave the penitentiary to attend his daughter's funeral. Prosecutors requested that Fletcher be escorted by U.S. Marshals as they believed him to be a flight risk. However, for whatever reason, Fletcher was able to just leave with his mother, unguarded and no GPS tracking. This, of course, would result in Fletcher not returning and going on the run, basically escaping prison under the guise of going to this funeral. He was eventually caught 2 days later after being found in the basement of an Akron home. Later, Fletcher eventually went to trial 3 times in 2023, where he would admit to convincing his teenage son to bribe a witness in one of the cases he was involved in. It's noted that he got quite aggressive with his lawyer during this case, at one point threatening to have U.S. Marshals shoot him. In February of 2024, Fletcher would be sentenced to serve 14 years in prison.
The alleged mastermind of an elaborate Orange County jail escape convicted today on felony charges. Hossein Nayeri was found guilty of escaping custody and car theft.
So, unless you couldn't tell by now at this point in the video, it's become pretty commonplace for prisoners to smuggle in cell phones. And of course, use these cell phones to record themselves doing various activities. However, what if a prisoner not only documented his experience behind bars, but documented his escape as well? This is the twisted story of Hossein Nayeri, a man who recorded his escape from incarceration. Hossein was born in 1978 in Iran and would migrate to the US with his family when he was in middle school. After becoming somewhat popular in high school, where he was a skilled amateur wrestler, he would then join the Marine Corps after graduating in 1997. However, not long after, he would go AWOL and was arrested, subsequently discharged. After this, he began a criminal lifestyle, with Nayeri frequently getting in trouble with the law. The former U.S. Marine has been described as manipulative, sadistic, egotistical, narcissistic, and very smart. And he's been compared to other manipulative, killers and criminals, even from fantasy. I think there's some CO or psychologist that compared him to Hannibal Lecter. As far as I know, Hossein does not eat flesh, but you get the idea. I just look now and it was a prosecutor that made that comparison. Needless to say, this guy has gotten quite a bit of notoriety over the years. The man's rap sheet is quite thick. At one point, he had been arrested on vehicular manslaughter charges in Fresno, California, after driving drunk and totaling his car, killing his best friend in the process. He had been on probation due to this crime during the time he had committed his other crimes. Hossein's ex-wife claimed that the man had beaten her over 60 times. This dude was basically a total piece of shit. Later, the 38-year-old Hossein Nayeri was arrested on torturing and kidnapping charges after abducting a marijuana dispensary owner named Michael in October of 2012 from his Newport Beach home. You see, Mr. Nayeri had been casing Michael out for quite a while after he got the idea that this dispensary owner was filthy rich and had a hidden treasure trove of unregistered cash, and had been stowing it in some hiding spot. And Hossein wanted this money. A little bit more context about Michael and this marijuana business. Apparently this Michael guy operated this, business back in 2012, this marijuana dispensary, but operated mostly, or I think entirely, in cash, because this was back when not a lot of states sold legal weed and credit card companies would not, authorize or do business with you if you owned a dispensary. It wasn't chill like that yet. So that's just to explain why this Michael guy was dealing in money, allegedly. Nayeri began to create an in-depth plan and even made his wife, who was in law school, run a background check on Michael. So back to Mr. Nayeri. Hossein had a hunch that the dispensary owner was hiding unmarked cash at his parents' home, but felt a stealthy break-in to get this money was infeasible due to a vigilant dog that Michael kept on the premises for security purposes. So in an effort to undermine this dog, Hossein allegedly tried to poison it, feeding it tainted meat, and apparently this didn't work, thankfully, for the sake of the dog. The crook was persistent, though. Nayeri then began following Michael and leaving GPS trackers on his vehicle. After tracking Michael for months with GPS, Nayeri noticed that Michael's vehicle was at one point parked in the Mojave Desert for an extended period of time, and he believed that the man was storing or stashing money somewhere out in the desert. He then hatched a plan to get his hands on this desert plunder. In a savage heist that could be straight out of Breaking Bad, Hossein equipped himself with multiple firearms, a stun gun, a torch, and brought with him some high school buddies to serve as goons. Hossein would then kidnap Michael, taking him out of town and driving the man to the Mojave Desert. In the middle of the desert, Michael was then tortured by Hossein, who reportedly shocked the man with a stun gun and burnt him with a blowtorch. All of this was done to try to get Michael to reveal where his money was hidden. But it turned out that they had been mistaken, and there was actually no hidden piles of cash anywhere within the vicinity. But Mr. Nayeri wasn't done there. When he realized that he wasn't going to get his money, he, along with his henchmen, decided to cut off Michael's penis. Yes, this is how sick and depraved this guy is. In fact, he didn't just sever it off and throw it away. He actually took it with him. You're going to hell for that one. The group then poured bleach over Michael in the hopes of removing their DNA and left the scene. He remained a free man for some time after this despicable deed, but eventually the walls would close in on Hossein when one of the culprits that aided him was arrested. In light of this, Hossein Nayeri fled the United States to hide out in Iran, where he had family. But he was captured at an airport in Prague, Czech Republic, and extradited back to Orange County, California in September of 2014 to face charges. This isn't the end of the tale, as while he was jailed for the moment, Hossein would see the free world again despite the immense charges levied against him. 2 years later, Hossein Nayeri, along with two other accomplices, one Jonathan Tu and one Bak Duong, made a brazen yet successful escape at Orange County Central Men's Jail in Santa Ana, California, executing this escape on January 21st of 2016. They did this by removing a portion of a metal grate in their cell and crawling through it, pulling themselves up onto the roof. They then used what has been described as high-grade industrial ropes to rappel down the side of the building. After escaping the roof, they would meet up with an associate of Mr. Duong who served as their getaway driver. And using this exit, they dipped out of the prison premises successfully, escaping Orange County Prison with no one knowing.
Johnny here for the first time. Showed up to San Francisco and showed up to the best part of San Francisco. No, we're not doing the crazy things they're saying. They're thirsty to catch us, we know that. And Friday night, in San Francisco. Special Friday night in San Francisco.
Their absence wouldn't be discovered until a roll call that was done 15 hours later. Some context on his henchmen involved in this plot. Jonathan Tu and Bac Duong are suspected of being a part of a Vietnamese-American street gang. Jonathan Tu was arrested for murder and attempted murder during a gang-related shooting in 2011, while Duong was arrested for attempted murder and assault with a firearm. It's also to note that Hossein Nayeri was able to obtain a Google Maps printout of the prison due to allegedly seducing a female ESL teacher within the penitentiary. When the getaway driver dropped them off, the escaped fugitives would call a cab driver, 71-year-old Long Ma, who for $100 agreed to drive them around the city for the night. This ride would sadly turn into a kidnapping when the group put Long Ma into the back seat of his own cab at gunpoint. They would then use this man's driver's license to cash checks and sign motel registries. Later in a hotel room, it was revealed that Nayeri would force Duong to burn the poor cab driver's arm with a cigarette to show loyalty. Nayeri would film the whole ordeal on his cell phone, the sick bastard. Later, as cops were closing in on their trail, Nayeri would allegedly attempt to murder Long Ma, who did not speak English and really didn't understand the extremity of the situation. Thankfully, it's said that one of the co-escapees, Mr. Duong, would take a liking to the old cab driver and refuse to allow Nayeri hurt the man any further. Enraged by this sentiment, Nayeri then began beating Duong, strangling him. Later, Duong would escape and ended up driving back to Orange County to turn himself in. Bruises were found all over him when he had returned. The remaining fugitives, Nayeri and Tu, made their way to San Francisco, where they were spotted by a homeless man, the individual apparently aware of the escaped convict situation. This Good Samaritan reported their presence in the area to the police, and 8 days after breaking out of confinement, the group would be reapprehended by authorities, where they would await to be arraigned for their charges of escaping prison. Now, while this whole debacle is quite bizarre, what makes it truly remarkable is the fact that Nayeri had been recording the entire process of his escape and the events thereafter on a cell phone. And in late July of 2017, the media would be given access to the actual footage of the escape by Nayeri's lawyer. This footage showcased the group escaping the prison, as it was all recorded by Hossein Nayeri's smuggled-in cell phone. In the video, Hossein claims to have broken out 8 hours before the time that was reported by the media.
Johnny here for the first time. Showed up to San Francisco and showed up to the best part of San Francisco.
Hey, Ashbury, baby.
And yes, we are not killing anyone. We are not kidnapping anyone. Just trying to pass time.
Now, the video in general seems incredibly manipulative by Nayeri. And it's certainly an attempt to embarrass authorities, and he tries to sway public opinion, tries to get folks to feel sympathetic for him. And like, if you watch this documentary that he recorded and made, you might actually feel somewhat bad for him, but that's only if you don't know any of the shit that he participated not only before the escape, but during it and after. You know, we're talking about basically torturing that poor cab driver. This guy is a scumbag, but he did make a pretty fucking bizarre documentary.
You know, we were so grateful he decided to help us. This man is truly a hero. I wonder if people will ever realize what I'm talking about. He's just a really compassionate person. He wanted no harm to anyone, to others, to us. When things fall apart, you just never know. You never know what a really intense situation can do to a man.
This is our casa right now for the moment. This is our crib. Water. You know, all the basics. Wait, you want some bananas? No, we don't have crack. We don't have crystal meth. We're smoking weed in bananas. And Friday night in San Francisco. Special Friday night in San Francisco.
Although the video he made is indeed fascinating, it would not change the narrative due to the graphic details about Nayeri and his attack on Michael from 2012, as well as the collection of people he had exploited to get what he wanted. In August of 2019, Hossein Nayeri was convicted of 2 counts of kidnapping and torture and received 2 life sentences without the possibility of parole. Now, hilariously enough, in 2022, despite Nayeri completely documenting his escape, he pled not guilty to the charges stemming from the escape plot. Unsurprisingly, he was found guilty in 2023 and received an additional 2 years and 8 months on his already hefty sentencing from the prior crime. And well, you've made it to the end. Those were the influencers from inside prison. Let me know what you guys thought about the video down below in the comment section, and let me know who or what you want me to talk about next. I want to give a major shout out to my patrons. I appreciate you guys. WAVYWEBSURF out. Peace.